Have you ever set a huge, exciting goal, only to watch your motivation just, completely fizzle out? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you that actually achieving your goals has less to do with willpower and everything to do with hacking your brain's built-in success system? Well, today we're going to dive right into the neuroscience of how to set and achieve pretty much any goal.
So, let's start with the big question. Why do we give up? Is it just laziness, a lack of discipline? Nope. The science says it's way deeper than that. The answer is actually hardwired into the very circuits of our brain that are designed for chasing things. And the best part? We can learn to work with these circuits instead of constantly fighting against them.
To do that, first we need to meet the command center. We're talking about the key brain areas that run the entire show, from that initial spark of desire all the way to the grit that keeps you going. Think of them as your brain's own personal board of directors for getting stuff done.
First up on the board is the amygdala. Now, we usually think of the amygdala and we think fear, right? But here's the interesting twist. A whole lot of our motivation comes from wanting to avoid a bad outcome, like failing a test or running out of money. That little knot of anxiety you feel, that's actually your amygdala, giving you a push to stay on track.
Next, we've got the basal ganglia. This is the simple but super powerful action center. It really only has two modes: a go circuit that kicks you into gear, like actually getting up for that morning run, and a no-go circuit that helps you resist temptation, like hitting the snooze button for the 5th time.
And there's the master planner of the whole operation, the prefrontal cortex. This is basically your brain's CEO. It handles what scientists call executive function. It's the part of you that can think about the future, plan out all the little steps to get there, and, crucially, understand how what you're doing right now connects to that big long-term vision. And finally, we have the orbital frontal cortex. The best way to think about this part is as your emotional gauge. It's constantly checking in, comparing how you feel in this moment with how you think you're going to feel when you're closer to your goal. It adds that really important layer of emotion to the whole process.
So let's do a quick recap of our board of directors. We've got the amygdala, which brings the fear of failure. We've got the basal ganglia, which handles the action. The prefrontal cortex is in charge of planning, and the orbitofrontal cortex manages the emotion. They're all working together, but what's the fuel that makes them all go?
Well, that fuel is dopamine. And listen, this is probably one of the biggest misconceptions in all of neuroscience. Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It's the molecule of motivation. It's about the pursuit. It's the chemical currency in your brain that makes you want to get off the couch and go get the reward in the first place. Without it, even the best goal in the world feels totally out of reach. Okay, so now that we know the key players in our brain, let's get into the really cool stuff, the practical tools. And the first one is so simple, it's almost hard to believe. It's all about where you look. Your visual system is a ridiculously powerful lever for motivation.
Check this out. There was this amazing study at NYU where they had people exercise with heavy weights on their ankles. They told one group to do just one thing: keep their eyes locked on the finish line. That's it. And the result? That group said the exercise felt 17% easier than the group that was just looking around normally.
And get this, not only did it feel easier, they were also 23% faster. That is incredible. Just by narrowing their gaze, they physically performed better and literally moved quicker. That's the raw power of your visual focus.
So how in the world does this work? Well, when you narrow your visual field down to a single point, it sets off this whole chain reaction in your body. It fires up the neural circuits for alertness, your blood pressure rises just a little, and your body releases a tiny shot of adrenaline. It's basically your brain's built-in go signal. All right, this next tool, it might go against every single piece of positive thinking advice you have ever heard. We're always told visualize success, picture yourself winning. But it turns out, for keeping that effort going day after day, visualizing failure is way, way more powerful. So here's the key difference. Picturing the big win is fantastic for getting you excited right at the start. But that feeling, it fades, right? To maintain momentum, you should regularly and vividly imagine the negative consequences of not achieving your goal. This directly taps into the amygdala, that fear center we just talked about, and uses it as a steady, powerful source of motivation. And the data on this is just staggering. As the neuroscientist Andrew Huberman puts it, the probability of you reaching your goal nearly doubles if you routinely focus on what could go wrong if you don't act. So yeah, get specific, get a little dark with it, because that's your rocket fuel. Okay, next up, let's talk about the kind of goal you're setting. It turns out there's a Goldilocks zone for how difficult a goal should be, and hitting it right on the money directly impacts how ready your brain and body are to go after it.
You can see it right here on this chart. If a goal is way too easy, your brain just doesn't bother to rally the troops. If it's so lofty that it feels impossible, your brain also kind of checks out. But right there in the middle, those moderately hard goals, the ones just outside your current abilities, they hit the motivational sweet spot and fire up your entire nervous system for action.
So the takeaway here is pretty clear. Don't set a goal you know you can hit without trying, and don't set one that feels like it's on another planet. You want to aim for that challenging but I think I can do it range. That's where you'll find a near doubling of your likelihood to keep on pushing.
Okay, for our final tool, I've got a practical 3-minute exercise you can do absolutely anywhere to train your brain's focus circuits. It's called space-time bridging, and it's all about deliberately practicing how to shift your visual and mental attention.
Here's how it works. It's super simple. You're just going to move through these different points of focus, taking 3 slow breaths at each one. Start with your eyes closed, just focusing on your internal state. Then open your eyes and focus on your hand. Next, shift to a point across the room. Then all the way out to the horizon. After that, widen your view to take in everything at once. And finally, bring it all back to that internal focus. This simple little practice actually trains your ability to shift from where you are right now to that extra personal space where all your future goals live.
So there you have it, your new, science-backed toolkit for achieving any goal you set your mind to. First, narrow your visual focus to get ready for action. Second, motivate yourself by visualizing the consequences of failure. Third, set goals that are challenging but possible. And fourth, train your brain every day with a little space-time bridging. By understanding and actually using these principles, you're not just relying on plain old willpower anymore. You are actively rewiring your brain for success. So the only question left is, what incredible goal are you going to achieve first?